Welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at DraftKings on tonight's 15-game slate, and given the pitching selection, some of these high-price hitters that we talked about yesterday that weren't really a fan of, a little bit different today.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a different scenario than what we were dealing with yesterday. I think there's more room to sort of pack some strong hitters into the lineup.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the Mariners and Pirates first game here. On a 15-game slate, I'm not really investing much of my time here. I know Felix Hernandez has kind of had his struggles, same thing with Liriano. But on a 15-game slate and given these two offenses against the opposing hand in this, I'm not really intrigued.
Yeah, no, there's not much here. Again, we were talking about Nelson Cruz on FanDuel, but 49 is steep for that matchup. So probably avoiding that. And then nothing really there on the Pirates side is really sticking out to me, Yeah,
there's no prices that you feel really comfortable kind of using. It's like, oh, man, that jumps out at me. It's just kind of a average at best game.
Right.
Rockies Orioles, Chris Tillman versus Chad Bettis, and the Orioles price tags are phenomenal for tonight's matchup. I mean, getting Adam Jones, Machado below 4K, Trumbo at 4-1, and we noticed that Trumbo's price was very low across both sides. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, really low and really good for us. I mean, he's going to be chalky, but who cares? At that point, you just throw him in, take that ownership, and ride the chalk, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and those secondary pieces, I mean, Scope, Chris Davis, Matt Wieters, I mean, those are all really attractive prices, 1 through 6. And you look at Bettis, I mean, reverse splits guy, but I mean, worse off against right-handers. But obviously lefties, he's not dominant against them. He's just kind of average.
Chris Davis at 36 and then Trumbo and then Machado, I think that's a tremendous 3. Borderline cash for me. Probably is a cash stack. I really love that grouping there.
Yeah, I do. I do too. I mean, and looking at the Rockies here, I don't mind taking maybe a shot against. I don't mind an Arenado at 4-1. These prices are much more intriguing as far as taking GPP shots, but I'm actually kind of a fan of Tillman. I'm not expecting a lot of Rockies, but obviously I think the big four are kind of always in play in GPPs.
Always in play, and I think the Blackman Arenado little grouping there you can get away with. I like that quite a bit, so definitely look at that.
Yeah, definitely more intriguing as far as GPP standpoint. I mean, your dog loves it. I mean,
he's definitely in on Charlie Blackman, I think. Or maybe he's mad that I'm suggesting Charlie Blackman.
It could be.
It's the facial hair. He's like, it's too scruffy. I'm the only guy with scruff around here.
Padres and Blue Jays, and not really look at these Padres bats, but kind of as you mentioned before, it's Matt Kemp. I mean, always kind of relatively cheap against right-handers, even though good ballpark and strong home run numbers.
Yeah, 3,800. I'm not gonna knock that. I don't really love anyone in the Padres lineup, but as a one-off, I'm okay with Kemp once again. And I think these are much more friendly Blue Jays prices, at least in my opinion. Are you in agreement there?
Definitely. I mean, outside of Donaldson, who's 5'2", much more easier to accommodate as far as the lineup goes. Definitely cash game playable for me. Guys like Bautista, Encarnacion, and Saunders. I like that grouping quite a bit.
And I think the Bautista price really puts Donaldson into cash play for me with that stack. I think you can look at Bautista, Donaldson, and Encarnacion. And I mean, if you average that out, it's really only like 4,700 a piece. So I'm in on that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Much more reasonable. And I think for me, just really looking at the front four.
Yeah. I don't at those prices, there's no real need to dive down to. I mean, Justin Smoke's 4,200, Tulowitzki's 4K. So why not just do the Bautista Encarnacion,
Right. Nationals Indians here next, and I'm not particularly intrigued with this game as far as a whole standpoint goes. It's just kind of GPP like for me. I think it's going to be really hit and miss as far as where you go in this direction. Rajai Davis, I don't hate it 3.8. I don't think Gio Gonzalez is an unbeatable pitcher. And same thing with Lindor. I don't mind. Obviously, the right-handed bats for the Indians are intriguing as far as the GPP standpoint goes. But it's not something that I'm all in on.
No, but I will say I'm excited that we don't have to deal with the 20K top four like we did for a week there, where all of them were priced at 5K. So at least they're reasonable now. I'm okay with tournaments, firing in a Lindor or Rajay Davis, but I think that's just kind of what that lineup is tonight. And in terms of the Nationals, I don't like these prices for Harper Murphy. I think that's a fade based on playing Salazar. I like, obviously you always like righty versus lefty for those two, but I just don't necessarily think that's worth it, especially for Murphy at 53. That basically means he needs a homer plus something else. So I'm not in on that.
No, I completely agree with you. It's just kind of a stay away situation.
Right.
Cubbies and White Sox here, and talk about the Cubs first, and they are a high price tag group. But as we mentioned, I mean, pitching's not really that high price tonight, so you can kind of get away with using some of these high option stacks. Cubs are much more stackable to me here, but I also like them in one-offs, and it's the same front five that we usually talk about.
Yep, same front five. And again, Rizzo is borderline on insane price, but that's okay. I think you can throw a Zobrist in there and feel pretty comfortable with that. Fowler, not the same discount we got on FanDuel, so that's a little tougher to pay up for that price. But I am looking at Zobrist there.
Yeah, and you look at Shields. I mean, the thing with him is he's pitched relatively well on paper. I guess you look through and see, oh man, he's only allowed 1-2 earned runs over his last 5 starts, but he's not missing any bats. The BABIP is very low. It's near 200 in that stretch. He's bound to regress, and I just think this Cubs matchup is something where it could happen. So, friendly ballpark, I like him quite a bit.
Right, and when you look at who he's done well against, Twins, Yankees, Braves, Angels, Tigers, and the Tigers, he gave up 2 home runs. So it's still creeping around there. The blow up is still there, and I agree with you on the Cubs being that potential team to really bring that out in him.
Yeah, definitely. Shields has been lucky to run into a stretch of teams where their bottom half offenses outside of the Tigers,
right?
To kind of rebound. And tonight, I think he kind of takes another step backwards.
Yeah.
As far as the White Sox go, same thing for me. I am intrigued with the price tags and going up against Hendricks in a form of GPP one-offs. Just given that it's a nice ballpark, there's some power potential, and Hendricks has been much more average on the road this season.
Yeah, I kind of like the 1-5-6 in this group. I think you can go Eaton, Morneau, Frazier, and feel pretty comfortable about those prices. Melky's in play as well, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of options in this lineup for tournaments. And I mean, Frazier at 32. What do you think of that? I feel like that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, I mean, I think given his upside and home run potential in that ballpark, it's definitely something I like quite a bit. And he just kind of fits in with the rest of them. I think there is some upside there. Obviously, the floor is pretty low, which is why they're just GPPs. But at those prices, I mean, I don't mind it.
Right.
So, Mets and Cardinals, and kind of first things first here. This is game 2 of the doubleheader. Not quite sure you're going to see a lineup. I mean, probably definitely not going to see a lineup by the time this one comes out. So there is some risk, I mean, taking guys in this game. So I think it is going to cost some low ownerships. But given the Cardinals' price tags, I'm not quite really on them. They're not as valuable as they were over on FanDuel.
Yeah, not really cost effective. I mean, Letimus Diaz, 4,700 is not something I was looking up to pay for here, but he did have a nicer price on FanDuel. And overall, I'm just not too intrigued with this lineup. I don't know how much upside there is. So with that considered, I don't know that you really want to venture into that lineup at all. And then, I mean, Cespedes 46. I'm okay with that still, but it's expensive, and he's not really surrounded by much tonight, so I'm not really buying that.
No, the pricing on FanDuel was a little bit easier to kind of maybe toss in as far as the GPP here. It's not bad, but it's not great either. It's kind of one of those middling plays where I might think about it. I'm kind of on the fence more so here on DraftKings with it. Yeah, I mean, I think on a 15-game slate and on a back-to-back of a doubleheader, I'm not really too much with hitters.
It's kind of like an overcrowded wave pool where you're like, oh, this is great. It's a wave pool. And then you're like, oh, but everyone's really close to me. So yeah, it's not really that far.
Marlins and Phillies here, Gerard Eichhoffers, Tom Kohler. Here, I mean, not really intrigued with any of these guys. the prices are just way too high for me in a game that, it's in a pitcher's park. I'm just not really in love with it. I like other range guys better.
Yeah, definitely agree. I can't do the Christian Yelich for 5K thing, and obviously, the the pricing against Eichhoff and righties is tough to afford Stanton and Ozuna over 4K.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've already kind of talked about some Jones play. Talking about some other outfielders that like Bautista who are just in that range and have much better matchups. So
Right.
It's kind of it's an easy fade for that Marlins Phillies game as far as hitters go.
Definitely agree.
Tigers and Sox, Steven Wright versus Mike Pelfrey. And for me, we'll talk about the Tigers. Just GPP plays only. I don't mind the price tags and taking shots with them. They're obviously a little bit easier. We know this on FanDuel. I mean, Castellanos was 4K. Guys are a little bit more expensive, but here it's not as bad.
Yeah, no, he's actually priced down quite a bit. I don't mind that price there. Same with Cabrera, I'm okay with that. Kinsler's getting a little expensive there, but still a tournament guy. So I'm really looking at those three and kind of jumping off the rest. I don't trust a Justin Upton as a punt play tonight or anything like that.
No, I don't either. I mean, he is cheap, but obviously it's not something that you're really looking for. And also, it's a knuckleball. You're not always sure what you're going to get. Obviously, you can look at some of these guys. I mean, you look at stats against knuckleball. Ian Kinsler hits them relatively well. Maven does too. So I don't mind taking some shots with some guys who have had success against knuckleballers in the past.
Agreed.
As far as the Red Sox go, I mean,
whoo, doggy.
Yeah. We got some prices here. I mean, Mookie Betts 56, Ortiz 57, Bogarts 5K, Pedroia 4.9, Hanley 4.8. Jesus, I mean, does this look like a team that is priced for 6.5 runs outside of course? I mean, I would say so.
I think I'm still kind of interested. Is that weird? Like, I'm still interested. So it's super expensive, but I mean, I guess the move might be going with Hanley, Bradley, and maybe one of the Pedroia Bogarts grouping. Because I don't know how many shares you're going to be able to fit in of Betts and Ortiz, but I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to go.
There is, and it's just it's so expensive. And I think one-offs is probably where I see myself going the most here tonight, just because I feel like there's a lot of other value elsewhere. So you pair up an Ortiz, but then you got a lot of value in Bautista and Jones. You're not quite getting in that same stack. So when you consideration, I mean, when you're comparing leadoff hitters, Betts, Jones, and Bautista, Betts is the most expensive by a wide margin. So it's just like I rather kind of mix and match.
Yeah, I still think Betts and Ortiz are in play, regardless of how ridiculous their pricing is. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it is Mike Pelfrey, so 10 runs is possible.
It is definitely possible. When you look at that bullpen, it really hasn't been that great either.
Right.
A's and Rangers, and oh boy, I think we got some nice prices here that I like on this Rangers side more so than the A's side. The A's are priced up quite a bit. And I want to say that had to do with the fact that Kyle Loesch was going to pitch, and now it's Nick Martinez. But the A's, once again, it's kind of site-dependent, but I still don't mind them as kind of a contrarian play. They're not quite cash, just given the prices for me.
Yeah, I like it, though. I like it as a contrarian tournament move. Maybe with Semien sort of batting later in the lineup, I think we're kind of looking at potentially sort of stacking the later end of that lineup, like a 4, 5, 6, 7, which is normally weird, but I could see myself doing something like that.
Yeah, it's one of the things with the A's lineup. I mean, when it comes out, there's always kind of a curveball in there as far as someone coming in, coming out. And for a team that's projected for over 5 runs in that ballpark, it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. I think Nick Martinez, obviously he's not Kyle Loesch, but he's still not a good right-hander.
Right.
And the Rangers bats, I mean, I like the value that Profar and Mazzara bring. Same thing with Beltre. Adore, definitely a little more manageable here at 4.4. Desmond 4.5, I still don't even mind that. So I think for me, the Rangers bats are much more playable against Gray, who I think is going to struggle on the road here.
Yeah, Desmond 500 more on FanDuel, which is obviously less caps. So you definitely like that price comparatively. So I do like Desmond. I think you can look at some serious power from this lineup tonight against Gray.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. So definitely going to be another good game at Target.
Definitely tournaments and maybe even fire a Mazzara and Odor in cash.
Yeah, I'm definitely more so on the Rangers and cash games than I am the
Yeah.
A's and cash. But I
Yeah.
think both are obviously viable GPP options.
Yep.
Astros and Yankees and Doug Fister pitching. A lot of these Yankees bats are super cheap. And given that the fact that he has struggled with lefties and in that ballpark, I don't mind taking shots with pretty much any left-hander there. I mean, you got a lot of guys who they're all under 4K. So for me, I think, I might take some shots as far as Yankees goes. They're not cash for me, but I think GPPs at their prices, I'll definitely be firing away.
Yeah, certainly the top four. You want to make your move. As I said on FanDuel, I'm not firing away with Ellsbury right now, but I do like Gardner, Beltran, McCann, and I think Teixeira, if he's hitting at the end of that lineup at 2,600, interesting swerve at first.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, 2,600.
Yeah,
That's pretty cheap. So
right.
I think you can look. I think there's some pop against Fister. Um, you know,
Rarely can you say someone at the same position is 3K less unless it's a pitcher, but he's 3K less than Ortiz, so
it's odd. Yeah, I know it's crazy.
yeah.
As far as Houston goes, I mean, their prices kind of show who's hit lefties well. With Altuve and Springer both over 5K. And same thing with Gaddis at 46. I'm less intrigued with those prices, but obviously those three certainly are in play for me, going up against Sabathia, who has regressed finally, and who has been bad against right-handed pitching right-handed hitters going back to last year.
I like how you threw that finally in there as a Red Sox fan.
No, no,
Waiting for that.
it's as a DFS fan. I'm finally, don't give me the Red Sox homer thing.
I'm just kidding. There really isn't that much of a rivalry anymore, is there?
It's pretty bland, man. It's boring. I mean, they're not good anymore. I mean, obviously we've become that, spend it all team. I mean,
yeah,
it's an evil empire. The Sox are now that.
Yeah,
it's different.
It's weird. Weird how times have changed, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, as you mentioned, Sabathia sort of fallen off here, so we're definitely looking at Springer and Altuve.
Yeah, certainly. Diamondbacks and Brewers here, and I like the Paul Goldschmidt price tag at 4.6. First base, the thing I have against Rizzo and Ortiz is you got Encarnacion and Goldschmidt for nearly 1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, no kidding. I think that's kind of what you have to look at here. He was 47 yesterday, 46 today. I mean, I think you just keep using him. That's cash game Goldschmidt money right there. So I like that. Depending on what they do with Jake Lamb, maybe Wellington Castillo pops up a spot in the lineup. You like that as well. So overall, I mean, even a Michael Bourne at 4K, I'm okay with that if you're doing a stack. So I like the Diamondbacks quite a bit.
Yeah, I do too. Garza struggles against both sides of the plate. Go back to last year, 372 WOBA the lefties. Righties 354 WOBA, so I have no problem with both sides. Jake Lamb, questionable for tonight, likely going to be out. I think he was expected to take a rest day. So curious to see who kind of comes up. It could be Yasmani Tomas for 3,600. I don't mind him if he does that.
Right.
As far as the Brewers go, I mean, Braun and Villar both over 5K, but I think they're both playable in GPPs. Just given that Patrick Corbin's been pretty average for most of his career, I think outside of Chasey's a little bit better, but Miller Park isn't really an upgrade.
Yeah, I do like paying up for Braun a little bit tonight. If you want to go in that direction, I think that's a solid chance at a home run there. Even a Lucroy and Villar, I think those three are all in play.
Certainly. I think I'm not really going past that. I think giving Chris Carter's 4K and Encarnacion are 500 or 600 more with Goldschmidt, it's just kind of easier to roll that way.
Yeah, agreed.
Braves and Twins next one here, and the Braves or the Twins prices are a little bit more up there, but still kind of mediocre. I mean, Kepler's the only one that's just out of control at 4.9, but I don't mind them here against Harrell, who is kind of just your average run-of-the-mill right-hander.
Yeah, again, Kepler's overpriced, but I think you can still go with that 3.45 and feel pretty comfortable with it. As we talked about on FanDuel, projected for 5.5 runs. You have to imagine some of the righties are in good spots, even though Lucas Harrell is a righty. So, Sano, Dozier, I like those two. Even Nunez is reasonably priced. So, I think you could reasonably do a tournament 4-man stack from that lineup.
I think so too. I mean, not a lot of people are going to be on it. I think given a 15-game slate in Turner Field, it doesn't have a lot of appeal to the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could dive in here and definitely make some moves on a Twins offense that has really been coming out and hitting the ball well.
Right.
Braves, not so much. They are priced down, but not enough for me to even really consider using them. Freddie Freeman, probably the only honorable mention.
Yeah, it's
Freddie Freeman.
Could be a Freddie Freeman night. It's a very lukewarm Freddie Freeman matchup, but could be a Freddie Freeman night because it is a righty.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we've seen him over 200 ISO against righties this year.
Yeah.
Definitely the strikeout rate's higher. Definitely much more of a GPP pick.
Yep.
Angels and Royals next here. Dylan G versus Tyler Skaggs, and here for me on the Angels side, I'm not intrigued by the prices.
No.
I took some more shots at the Angels. Here, obviously, I mean, I still like him just given the matchup, but I don't feel that same kind of value sits here.
It's always nice when Trout's under 5K against a relatively weak arm, but overall, you're not looking to stack this team, I don't think. It's just not good odds on your money for that Calhoun, Trout, Pujols grouping.
No, Calhoun at 4.6 is overpriced for me. Obviously, Trout under 5K, I definitely don't mind him.
Right.
So, as far as the Royals go, I mean, they're priced down quite a bit going up against Skaggs. And, I mean, Skaggs is a serviceable left-hander. Do I think that the Royals are going to blow them off the tracks here? I don't think so. But I could see you probably getting some pieces of like a Perez or a Morales if you're looking to be different, especially Perez at 2.9.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Perez at 2.9. I'm not really looking at Hosmer, even though it is 3.3. Much better price here. But I think we're looking at Morales and Perez if you're diving into this lineup.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, Royals Angels doesn't really scream offense on a 15-game slate. It just sort of gets lost for me.
Yeah, especially with quite a few games in the 10 and a half projected run totals. So kind of a tough game to get behind.
Definitely. Rays and Dodgers, Chris Archer versus Bud Norris, and the Justin Turner algorithm must be seeing something here because he's 5,100 here, and it was expensive around FanDuel. The Corey Seager price tag at 4.4, a little bit more easier to accommodate, but it's not a perfect matchup against Archer. And as we kind of stated, it's just one of those situations where which Archer is going to show up tonight.
Well, which Archer per inning is going to show up? I mean, if we get a majority of good Archer, there could still be that one inning where a lot of these guys still hit value. Obviously going to be tougher for Turner to hit value. I do like that Seager price. But yeah, like you said, splits are good for Turner, and this is a good matchup. Batting third. So, I mean, I could definitely see a good output from Turner tonight, but it's a little overpriced for me.
Yeah, me too. I think given the prices, I'm not really in on taking shots on the Dodgers offense here.
No.
The Rays, on the other hand, I'll take some lefties against Bud Norris there. Brad Miller, 3.8, Corey Dickerson, 3.6. I definitely don't mind that, given Bud Norris has allowed a 3.91 WOBA to lefties since last year with the 1.76 runs per 9. Hey, give me that at those prices in GPPs. I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they're pretty cheap, 37. If you get them together, 3,700 a piece. So I'm fine with that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's quite cash, but it's borderline.
And as far as the right-handers go, I know they're cheap as well, but Norris has been relatively tough on righties. So for me, I'm just kind of staying away.
Yeah, I agree.
So, moving on to the next game here, you got the Reds and the Giants. Matt Cain versus Cody Reed. First things first, I think Giants, the Buster Posey price tag is easier to kind of fit in here at 3.9. Obviously, it's not a great ballpark, but obviously Posey above average numbers against left-handers. You look at Cody Reed. I mean, really, in the teams where he's not played the Braves or anyone weak, he's been hit very hard.
Yeah, I kind of like this matchup a little bit, but the prices are, they're okay. I do like Posey, but other than that, I think he's really the main guy I'm taking away from that lineup.
Yeah, me too. I mean, a Brandon Crawford at 2.7, I might take a shot on just because we've seen Crawford with some decent power against lefties in the past. that's a punt play price pretty much here for a guy who's hitting fifth in a lineup that could be in line for some RBI opportunities in front of him.
Yeah, for sure.
So as far as the Reds go, they're priced up a little bit more here, especially Votto and Bruce. I still don't mind the Reds front five, but obviously it's a little bit more expensive here. But I think looking at Matt Cain and how he struggled against both sides of the plate over the last year and a half, you can really feel comfortable about deploying some Reds and probably get them still at a pretty low ownership. They were low owned last night. I think they will be tonight with even a bigger slate.
Yeah, I'm not buying them as much here. I do still like the matchup in general, but the pricing kind of makes me a little weirded out. I do like Duvall still, but I can't see myself paying up for Billy Hamilton. Votto and Bruce, obviously, still really solid plays at their prices, but overall, I don't like this stack nearly as much here as I did on FanDuel.
No, I think the price considered it definitely kind of takes a little of the appeal out, which is why I think the ownership is going to be a little bit lower.
Right?
Here,
yeah,
so.
I'm gonna be the guy without it, and you are, and then there'll be some homers, and then you'll beat me, and then
we'll check back tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So overall, 15-game slate, a lot of ways to go. Should be a fun one. You think so?
No. No, never.
That's gonna wrap things up.
Nihilist Arby's, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. If you haven't followed that account, I think it is a good one to follow.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. That's gonna wrap things up here with the DraftKings Daily Trot. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all the great tools and content.